Titles podcast is brought to you by Land Trust Title Services, your partners for results. Well, hello, this is Steve Kaempf with the People Not Titles podcast, and I'm really excited today to have Andy Strohm on. Andy is a sales coach, and he's just helping professionals sharpen their skills in sales and then bringing them along, accountability and all the like. So, Andy, thank you for being a part of the podcast today.
Yeah, man, I love this. Appreciate you bringing me on.
Yeah, we're excited. I've known you for quite a while, and I know we've been talking about doing this. And so I'm glad we are. So Andy, let's just talk about just how you got into sales coaching, and what kind of led you into your current vibe.
Yeah, sales has been a journey for me. My whole career is kind of built in sales, and it wasn't intentional. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated high school and college. I had no idea. So the first thing I did was start working for my school, college, as an admission counselor, which is a sales position.
Yeah.
And, for me, I was like, oh, I enjoy this. Like, I like communicating with people. I like kind of the thrill of the whole process. And so I realized very quickly that they were paying, minimum wage to do a sales job. Normally, you can do a little better than that. So I was like, I got to find something else. Went into the insurance world, bounced around a little bit, and landed at Geico. And ended up working for their sales team for years. And I got a mentor there that really brought me from closing deals to teaching people to close deals. And for me, that transition was meaningful. I realized I liked the thrill of helping other people succeed more than I liked the thrill of the deal being closed personally. So that just lit me up as a person. And I enjoyed that and really got plugged in doing that.
So, Andy, when you were working with Geico, that's not order taken there, because people are shopping around, right? Yeah. And they're saying, hey, what is this? What are some of the key elements that you were able to separate yourself from the rest of the group there, where you're not just taking phone calls, but that you're actually able to move them over the line?
Yeah. So with a company like that, they spend millions optimizing their sales teams. So you come in managing a team like that, and you're finding the minutia, right? What is the little stuff that can really make an impact on someone? And what I learned really quickly was that I have a unique perspective on sales versus everybody else I was working with, and it resulted in me allowing much more flexibility for my team than other people were allowing. And they weren't robotic versions of whoever was teaching them. They were truly just themselves, and I was trying to optimize each of them in their own best practice for them.
So as opposed to every single person saying the same thing the same way, it is leaning into their personality. Of course, there's nuances to sales and their strategy and all those kind of things, but you can be different personality wise and still get the same end result.
Exactly. And in fact, I think better results, because when you're true to yourself, because when you're true to yourself, you can sustain that process without it causing internal friction. And I think that piece a lot of salespeople miss is like, they think that sales has to be hard work. And in reality, I think that when you're flowing in an appropriate sales process, it doesn't feel like hard work, right? It feels like you're connecting and helping. And that's not the same as trying to manipulate people across the line. A lot of people find themselves in that position. But the results spoke for themselves, because our results were good in terms of closure. But this is the thing that I thought was wild. Our turnover inside of our team was the best in the company. Wow. So we had the longest tenured agents, because people that didn't mind doing the job in a business that had very, very high burnout. So I found that telling, that people could not just do well, but they could do well for an extended period of time and sustain that.
Well, and what were some of the key elements that these people were able to do, or what were some of the core factors for them staying? Was it belief in the product?
It wasn't. It was really, it was for them, first belief that they could be successful. Because I think a lot of people miss the fact that even if you don't look like the best people out there doing it, doesn't mean that you can't be successful in your own right. So when they believe they can be successful, they have a purpose and a target, they have things they want to achieve, they're much more likely to stay in the game, right? And then once they feel like they're being recognized for who they are, right, they see that internal acknowledgement of who they are, that allows them to feel accepted in that position. And there's kind of a combination of those things that impacted those agents and staying for a long period of time. That, and we had a lot of fun.
So Andy, that's interesting because, as you know, we're in the real estate field up here, and we're excited about you having a session with some of our brokers, but and it seems like a commodity product. And so you'll have someone come in and they'll just say, do this or do that. And all of a sudden you got 10,000 agents doing this or doing that. And it all just comes across the same. So what I hear you saying is, even in a commodity product like auto and homeowners insurance, which, it's a hard time getting more commodity than that. I mean, you can literally shop that line by line. You're talking about someone's personality being able to come out and be actually a deciding factor in someone making a decision.
Oh, big time. Yes, 100% agree with that. It builds a level of trust and authenticity that is missing from the process oftentimes. And
interesting.
I agree. You see that in a lot of types of sales where there's almost a disconnect between who the person presents themselves to be versus who they really are.
Yeah. And people would, tactics close sales. That's true. And even good products, but integrity, authenticity, and dealing with a real person is something that I think people dismiss sometimes too quickly. So that's great. Okay. So you're coaching these people in Geico, you're breaking records. You got people that are, you got a low turnover, high success rate. Then what?
So for me, there was friction with the corporate process. So I did not fit well with Geico corporate. And ultimately I knew I needed to move on, and
you felt some tension between who you were as an individual and what they wanted you to do and be.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, ultimately what they stated their belief to be about the value of their associates and about, how they wanted them treated.
The mission statement and whatever else. Everyone has a cute mission statement and values and this and that, but when you really get down to it, not everyone sticks to it.
Exactly. And so I made some decisions to start exploring other options. I started a gym, which I still own here in Lakeland, Florida, Vital Fitness. And then I started kind of dabbling in consulting just to see if that was something that I could enjoy and be successful in.
So Andy, press pause there. So you left Geico, you started your gym. So you left Geico. Did you have another option, or you were just like, I'm going to just take a breather?
So first thing first, I started the gym before I left.
Okay.
As a first step, doing something to start generating revenue, to start building
some side income.
Something, yeah. And it was doing fine, but it wasn't going to generate enough for me to pay bills, right? And so I knew I had to do something else. And I started the consulting business on the side while working full time, and disclosed that to them and said, look, I'm going out here and doing this. And they said, look, that's fine as long as you're not doing it for our competitors, right? But very quickly, that business was more lucrative than my 9 to 5.
So I love that, Andy, that you can identify with the person that has a full-time job because they want to feed their family, and at the same token is trying to build a side income, and and the hustle that requires, and it's not just doing it, you have to do it well to be able to make it. So you start consulting other people and coaching other people. So how'd you get your name out there mostly?
I found a small community on Twitter of people who were starting businesses and trying to better themselves. And so I quickly established myself as an expert in the area of sales with that group. And it allowed me to kind of get my first few clients very quickly. And the results of those clients allowed me to spread the word of that success, and ultimately, my ability to help people increase their revenue. And so Twitter was a big driver for, especially early, that business.
And did you, when you were working in Twitter and building and growing, which is how you and I met, were you, was it like give us an idea about what kind of things people were selling out there that you were working with?
Yeah. So many people were doing like coaching, online coaching, like fitness coaching, business coaching, but also marketing. So that could be, Facebook marketing, but also Google, all these different types of digital marketing platforms, marketing agencies. But I also worked with manufacturing businesses and construction businesses and all kinds of businesses I connected with on Twitter because they were just a part of those types of communities. And they ran across me, knew they had a business problem that could be solved by better sales processes. And we put something in place for them.
Okay, so when did you cut the cord then, Andy? Was Geico your last full-time job?
It was, yeah. So COVID happened.
Did you have to give the lizard a hug on the way out or no?
Thankfully, no. But yeah, COVID happened, and I went home, started working from home with the 9 to 5, and that's when it all clicked for me that I can do this full time. I don't need to continue the 9 to 5. And December of, what was that, 2020, I decided to go ahead and just rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah, it was probably December. March of 2020 is when the crap hit the fan. So it's probably December of 2021, right? Or December of 2020. That's right.
Yeah,
wow.
December.
So 9 months. Okay. So, and was this like a conversation with your wife, or was she like, go get him, cowboy?
I'll tell you this. She has been the most supportive person on the planet. Never once has she told me like, no, you're insane. Don't do that. I started a gym with all of our savings at the time. Then I said, look, I want to quit my job and do this consulting thing full time. She's like, hey, if you think that's the direction to go in, then go in that direction and pursue it, but pursue it with everything you've got. So she's been incredibly supportive through the whole process.
Okay. So God bless you, man, that you have a great spouse like that. And, sometimes you have one and sometimes you don't, right? But you got to fight through it anyway. Andy, what was the toughest, maybe there's a number of challenges, but everyone thinks that everyone who's in business for themselves or, it's just like kind of smooth sailing. I know there's a lot of fear that sets in and all that, right? A lot of self-doubt. What was, just give us an idea of what was some of the tougher things that you faced?
Yeah, I like to address this because on social media, on, those types of platforms, and in books and stuff, you see people who have made it. You see people who have been successful. And oftentimes, they didn't even have some of the turbulence that people endure normally. And the statistics are that most people that start a business fail. So when you look at that and you think, well, how did these guys just get out there and succeed right away? When I'm out there trying and I'm failing and failing and failing. But something that one of my first business partners said to me just stuck with me forever. And that was Phil Knight said, failure was part of his process, right? It's how he discovered where he needed to be when he was starting Nike. And the key is to fail forward and fail fast, right?
I love it.
So that concept just helped me the entire time. But for me, there were times when I was making 2 to 3 times what I had made before, and there were times when I was making nothing, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Right? So that's when you're early in the process and you're figuring this out. To have no income coming in for a period and thinking like, oh my gosh, did I just ruin everything? Did I go in the wrong direction for nothing?
Yeah, you got kids. You got kids sleeping in the other room, and you're thinking they're relying on you, and you're blowing it.
Yeah, four sons.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's that is a terrifying moment. And I'll tell you this: there were times when the marketing processes I had in place stopped working. Right, the things that were working broke, and there were times when the things that should work didn't. Right, and those things were the things that tested my resolve to continue to do the right thing and figure it out versus just giving up, going back. And I mean, honestly, I considered it. There were times that were so hard. I thought maybe I should just go back. Maybe I should just do that. But I read a book by Jay Abraham called Getting All You Can Out of All You've Got. And that book was so powerful for me in those moments because it helped me think outside the box and think about alternative ways to find clients. Even in those moments when the things that should have worked didn't, right? The things that were working broke. And I thought, well, I don't even know how to do this anymore. What am I even doing?
Yeah.
Right? And
yeah, here I am, a sales coach, and I can't sell anything to anybody.
Listen, right? And I'm like, what is going on? Like, do I not know what I'm doing at all? But stepping back, thinking outside of the traditional box of where I'm getting clients and start finding those people in other places where they congregate allowed me to just reinvigorate that business, right? Reinvigorate the process and establish healthier patterns so that long term that business was in a better place. And I think that's one of the key factors of facing difficulty is learning from the difficulty and putting in place processes to make sure you don't keep repeating that same difficult moment over and over and over again.
Yeah, Andy, that's powerful. And I think once you come through a situation like that, you can help others through that situation, which makes you just a more, it's like the school you never wanted to go to become a more valuable coach. But now you have the education. And so when you're talking with real estate brokers or you're talking with other folks that are selling and they hit the dry time, you're now talking to them about being creative as opposed to, because a lot of people get shaken out during that dry time. And it's not the time, it's a time to get more creative and double down. And congratulations for doing that. So now, are you at a place, Andy, where a large part of your business is referral based and you're now spending more time maybe vetting out who you're going to work with than trying to scratch around and just try to work with everyone?
I do have a large percentage is referral based, and happy clients tell people about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, there's a much larger percentage that is referral based now. And I feel like that creates a baseline for the business, which is really helpful.
Yep.
And you can step up off of that into the higher stratospheres if you want to. And, and that's kind of something that allows you to scale comfortably. But yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And Andy, how many times, what I'm excited about when you're going to be talking to our real estate brokers, I told you about, we have the same coaches saying the same things all the time. And people just get stuck with the same strategies. And how often is it that you're talking to someone in a different field and you throw out an idea and they're like, man, I never thought of that.
That happens so often.
Yeah.
But Jay Abraham, the guy that wrote that book I mentioned, has handled thousands of companies in different industries. And he speaks about this regularly, which is his exposure to other industries allows him to look like a genius when he has conversations with people because they're stuck in their own industry and perspective. And he can see that from 5 different perspectives at a given time and give them insights. And I've seen that start to play out in my own consulting as I've dealt with tons of different types of businesses. I can give them insights that just break through the paradigm of that industry and allows them to accelerate their growth process, as opposed to telling them just do more of the same, right? Do more of the same thing and hope that you do it better. It's just not a sustainable process.
Yeah, that's great. When I owned my own mortgage company from 1997 to 2008. Yeah. And then I got into manufacturing. So I sold construction products, underfloor heating. And so I wound up in the boardrooms at Home Depot and Menards and all these different places. And then I came back into real estate. And I can't tell you, more valuable than my time in the mortgage business, which is closely connected to real estate, was my time in the dealing with those executives in boardrooms and have to think on my feet and all this. So just that exposure that you have to all those different types of sales environments, I think makes you more valuable. At least, if you know what the real estate coach is going to say 80% of the time, boy, if you could double that and add 80% of what they aren't saying, and now you're at 150 or 200% in terms of knowledge to your competition, you now seem, like a cut above. So that's exciting. So Andy, let's talk about the future for you. You've built your business, you own your gym. Yeah. What's the near term, outlook for you? What are you looking to do with your business?
Yeah. I'd love to start working with more and more teams. I think that's something that I really enjoy doing.
Okay.
That's something I'll be kind of adding over the next 12 months is more work with teams.
Okay.
Across.
Yeah. So different leadership type things. And are you talking sales teams?
Yeah. Sales teams, leadership
Okay.
teams.
That's exciting. Well, fantastic, Andy. Andy, maybe just get into a little bit of what's important to you personally so people get to know you
Yep.
As a human being. I know you're a husband and you're a father. What's important to you besides just teaching people how to be great in sales? Because a lot of times when they get you as a coach, right, you have these coaches that are like, balls to the wall type of situation where you're like, oh man, this isn't a fit for me, right?
Yeah.
Or for some people it is a fit. But what about you? What's important to you so people know you as a human being?
Yeah. For me, the first thing always is, I have a relationship with God. It's my foundation. It's my rock, which leads me to ethical business practice.
Yeah.
To me, that's such a foundation of business is to do things the right way. And it's wild in the sales space how many leaders have either been to jail or gotten out of jail by ratting out their business partners.
Yeah.
It's almost more common than it is not common. And so I think that's something that in the space particularly is something that's unique. But that
Andy, to that point, a lot of people think too that I can't be honest and I can't be in sales. And what a fallacy that is, right? That an honest salesperson is the most valuable kind, and they usually are the ones that last long. Any real professionals have more integrity than not. And so anyway, that's a misnomer. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you 100%. And that does separate me. I'm told by my clients regularly that is a differentiator. But yeah, that's one thing, right? The ethical side is one thing. But for me, balance, family, and the enjoyment of life is a big aspect of what I do. People make much larger, dollar amounts working 18 hours a day. And I just don't believe that's necessary. You can make more than enough working an appropriate amount of time so that you can reinvest in your family and your community and be a part of life, right? That's the intent of being here on this planet is to enjoy it, right? To be a part of it and to seed a better future for other people. So, that's
powerful. I think a lot of people squeeze in 8 hours of work into 15 hours of time. They spend a lot of, so I do notice that about your content and all that. You really help people to make the max of their time. So when you're working, and that it doesn't have to bleed in to every other area of your life to where you're so out of balance until you make it, that by the time you make it, I remember Joe Gibbs, famous coach of Washington Redskins, said, I kept saying, I'm going to be a family man someday. And he said, I went to kiss my son and he had a beard. And he realized he missed their whole childhood, and that was one of his biggest regrets. And you don't have to be that way in sales, right?
That's it. And I think salespeople especially get stuck in that belief that they just always have to be on. They always have to be working. And to learn that separation and to learn to manage the process well so that you do have that separation, you do have that time. It makes you a better salesperson ultimately because you're not stressed. You're not hyper focused on the dollar, right? And that ultimately makes things more sustainable and more effective and efficient for you.
Okay, Andy, I love it. Andy, are you a numbers guy when it comes to sales? Like, is analytics important to you?
Yeah. So funny, quick note on that. My college statistics professor was doing essentially professor at two different schools. One was Wharton School of Business. The other was this little podunk community college. I went to the community college, got that professor, right?
Wow, you got a Wharton education at the community college.
I took every class that guy offered.
Wow.
2 semesters in a row. And I learned more than I did the rest of my college career, for real. But one of the things that we talked about was statistics. And he said, does everybody know how to open up their computer? And we said, yes. And he said, great. Then we're not doing any math in this class. What we're going to talk about is how to think about numbers and how to use them, right?
Wow.
And so his perspective on stats really shifted my perspective. It allows me to use KPIs, key performance indicators, and statistics to think through where are the roadblocks, where are the blockages in our sales process, right? It's not just a judgment of did you win or didn't you? It's more of an analytical tool of understanding and figuring out how to get better. So I like to track all kinds of things until we nail it down and improve it, and we can move on to the next thing. So it's definitely a big indicator of where you can improve.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it so many times. You get into an organization and they're working on the wrong problem because they haven't asked the right questions. And, and all of a sudden you realize, wow, or they believe some story or anecdotal thing that has no data to support it. And, I think a key, and one of the kind of misconceptions about sales is you just get out there and do it and try, and eventually something closes, as opposed to being targeted, being efficient, having great results, seeing what works and keep adding to what works and keep eliminating what doesn't work. And all of a sudden you're working half the time and making twice as much.
Yeah. So, I call that testing to success, right? You don't have to just be in one small numerical type of business to use testing to succeed. I think people should test everything and document the results so that they can improve their action over time.
Awesome. Well, Andy, I just want to say thanks for this. It's great to get to know you. And we are excited about teeing up this session for our the broker community. And we're also excited about making, your expertise available to our constituency. And so we'll address that in our next podcast. But anyway, I appreciate you. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks.